Hello and welcome. So this is a Truth About Parenting video, and today I'm going to be talking about when kids are reluctant to do anything. Now today is Sunday, and often with Henry I will make sure that he does a bit of reading and his homework is done. But getting him to do it is still a battle because he still wants to do what he wants to do. He's obsessed with Tipping Point, and he plays it endlessly. So to get him off it, it becomes like the battle of, it was like a power struggle. He wants to be in charge of what he wants to do, and I want him to work with me. And it becomes this battle of, no, I don't want to do any homework. I don't want to do any reading. I don't want to do any drawing. And it's constant like, okay, let's set a time. So I set a time and I say that in 15 minutes we're going to do some reading. And that is the best way of going about it, is schedule it in. And we tell them to look at the clock, and when that big hand reaches to the 9, for example, then we've got to do homework. And I find if you're doing less but more strategy is the best way, because too much of anything, even myself, I was terrible at school when it came to homework. Now, when I went to primary school, you didn't have homework as such. I had my heart operation and I had to do homeschooling for 2 or 3 weeks afterwards. But then once I was able to go back to school, I did. And it meant that I had to kind of like form new relationships again, because I remember looking back, it seemed like I was in hospital for a longer time than what I actually was. But it did affect my relationship and my education when it happened. Because I didn't like doing homework. Even when I went to secondary school, I hated homework and I would leave it till Sunday. It was my, one thing that I possessed. So I can get him why he doesn't want to do it, but he's got to do it. So, set a time and let them look at the clock, and just say, right, we're going to do some reading, homework, and we can get back to playing your game, but we've got to do some. And even though he's reluctant, he's still done it. And it's the result afterwards, for me and for him, where we thought, okay, that was good. I'm glad we did that. And so you may not see results at first, but you just got to keep persevering until he realises that. Because obviously when you do homework, I'm sure you've heard from a lot of parents, is to praise as they're going along doing the homework when they've done something good and on their own. And today he did quite a different book that he's not read before, yet he did read some of the paragraphs on his own. So he is improving. It's just the reluctancy that he doesn't want to do it. And I think also because kids can become overwhelmed like we can. When we pile so much on ourselves, we initially want to run and jump and do something completely different, because we feel stressed in doing that, errand, whether it's, I put off, sometimes hate paying bills, but I have to pay them, otherwise I can't, for example, use my mobile phone, so I have to pay it. I don't know whether I want to do it, but I have to do it in order to keep in contact with people. And obviously if Henry's school rings and have to go and pick him up from school one day, because that happens when you become a parent, they will pick up, Henry had chickenpox a couple months ago, and now, what was it, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so he wasn't able to go to school. Now he enjoys going to school, he loves it, and he loves his one-to-one teacher, and he's very positive about it. But when it comes to being home, they just want to unwind and get back to the things that they can do that they can't necessarily do at school. And I feel that, because I'm exactly the same. I don't always, when I used to work, I used to do my blogging, and I started doing YouTube as I was working. As soon as I come home, because I've been on the computer all day, I didn't then want to be back on the computer when I got home. But I knew that in order for my blogs to grow, I had to put the work in. So I can understand where we come from, but also he has to, in order for him to get better, do the things he doesn't like, and sometimes they'll fall in love with it in the end. For example, when we took Henry to rugby tots, he would want to do his own thing. He didn't want to do all the activities within the training. He wanted to run around and do his thing. But now he's watched it and a bit older, he now does play properly, and he now understands more about the sport. So now he will play and not do his own thing. But not saying that I don't give him choices, I do. Sometimes it's good to let them be in charge for their own independence, but it's balance, and it's on the situation, but when they see the results and they see that they've done well, that encourages them to want to keep doing it. Because my son loves praise. He wants to know that he's doing well. He doesn't want to be struggling like the rest of us, and he doesn't want to always do his homework, which I can understand. So that's why Sundays we do his homework, and then when he comes home from school, we will sometimes read a book. But I do allow him that time to breathe. We may play football in the garden. But it's balance and setting it out. And soon, the school holidays, and they just want to enjoy their holiday. They don't want to be stuck down doing homework. But if you set a day and a time, I find, say, right, Henry, and this is what I, do myself. I book in time. Like, for example, when I want to do some writing, when I get to Epsom, and I always get it early for when Henry gets dropped back, just in case he gets dropped back early or whatever, or there's issue with the trains, buses. I want to give myself enough time to get over there. And I say, right, I'm going to do 50 minutes of writing, set up my phone, and time myself. And you can do that with your kids as well. So, and I even try to, because as Henry gets up so early, I set an alarm yesterday to try and get him to stay sleeping until that alarm went off, but that didn't work. Sometimes it is hit and miss, but you just got to persevere and remember. And also, if you've got siblings, or they have a play date, and they have someone who they actually love, they actually they learn from other children rather than yourself. So I think encourage that. If you've got older siblings, that he's got a friend that he sees often, they have often a play date, and it was his friend that helped him to ride his bike, because he was reluctant doing that. He didn't want to ride his bike. He's still not into riding his bike. But then, when we had the street party, he was going round and round on his bike, and he learned that from his friend that he often sees that comes over, and she taught him how to ride a bike. And within minutes, he was riding his bike just like she was, without stabilisers, on his own. And so, if you've got other older kids that have, been the same, or it's good to have them teach your kids sometimes, because it gives them responsibility, and it gets them involved with being a leader. I mean, I learnt a lot from my brother. My brother was always super confident, while I lacked confidence, and so sometimes I found it easier for my mum or my brother to answer for me, or my dad to answer for me. It took me time to answer for myself. And whenever I'd be asked a question, I would look at my brother to answer instead of me answering. And so you've got to, in order for them to communicate, if you've got older siblings, get them teaching your kids, because that's what I did at dancing. When I was at that dancing school, I loved it. I hated school, but I loved going to dancing on Saturdays, because it took my mind off school, and it was something that I was good at, and it was through another child being there that taught me as well. It's a girl called Claire, I'll never forget her, and she got me up. She didn't know who I was. I came with another girl that was going there before, called Emma, and she then took the time to teach me how to do the waltz whilst I waited to dance with a teacher. And it was a really good lesson because then I got experience and then I ended up doing the same thing. So what only was I dancing, I was teaching the other kids to dance, and it was so rewarding and something that I would really love to go back into. There's so many things I still want to do, and it was through dancing, doing things like PE, like playing rounders, writing. I love writing, that's why I write now. Those were my loves, and so but you have to learn different things. Maths, I still struggle with now, um, and I learnt more actually from when I first started working about money and maths than I did at school. But there are still things that I remember. I do know my times tables, I know how to add up, but I struggle with it. And I hate when we had tests. I would dread it. I would just want to run a mile. And kids are just like us. They get overwhelmed, and I find if it's something, for example, it's something new, like Emily's got a game called Rummy, and it's where I used to play with cards, where you had to get like 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D, for example, and build up like a rally of this game includes tiles, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to play his own version of the game rather than the rules, and so in the end he gave up and I put it right and I gave up. But the thing is to persevere and keep trying. Sometimes if you bring out the game and they're not worrying about it, sometimes that's where they learn, you know. But again, it depends on the child and what they're interested in. Because he will play Snakes and Ladders now, he's understood how to play that game. Once they understand it, then they will play. But like me, if there's something that I'm not sure of, it's the last thing I want to do. But you have to teach yourself, and with time they will get it. They have to. It's doing it gradually and find games that is challenging, but not too challenging for their own sake. Because I do believe you've got to look after your kids and yourself well-being. And if you're struggling, like this weekend, he had to do some homework, and even me or my mum could understand it at first. We didn't know what he had to do, and then I sussed it out, and then he was able to get it done, So it's just, don't give up with them, persevere with it, bring it out now and again to see if they then will they now can understand to play the game that they find difficult. Because of course we like to be in our comfort zone, and so do they. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Keep trying, but don't feel so bad if they don't want to. And it's not a reflection of your parenting. It's just that kids take their time, like we do. They're still human beings at the end of the day, and they actually, what I discovered today, that Henry knows more than what he lets on half the time. And I think that's shielded, because I think he worried in case it's something that is too much, and I think that's what he finds. If it's too long, that's where he struggles with it. If it's bit by bit, then he will do it. And so that with his reading, I'm trying to find books that are a little bit more challenging, and then eventually we'll get, and that's the other thing. It's okay for them to find it difficult. We all find things difficult, and it's okay as long as they do some, and they start to understand what is it they're doing. Then you'll find they will do it. They're just like breathing without even thinking. So and so don't underestimate yourself and don't underestimate them, and work together. If you work together with it, it's better than trying to get force feeding it. Working together and you both find it challenging, and that helps you learn for them to learn, and it just happens then, So don't. The thing is, if they don't want to do something, don't blame yourself. It's just they're still learning, and we're still learning. Being a parent is a difficult task. That's why I do these videos, because it is, tricky. It is not. There's no real manual that really can help. So you do what, and sometimes you have to improvise. That's one thing that I found with parenting. You do that a lot, you know, like when Henry can't find his jackpot counter. We then found the yellow token and drew one and made one for him because he, you know, because if he'd be wanting it all day, and if he doesn't have it, then I have to go searching for it, and then I have to bring it over for him to use it again because he gets really upset if he doesn't have things in order, and that's another thing. If they would like to do anything, it's them learning about the things they like and don't like. And it's not anything that can't be fixed, because it can. It's just take time. Just step by step, take time. Give yourself time, give themselves time. And just work with your children. Not against them, but with them. And I find that's better than saying, "What, you got to do this now, we're doing this, that, now." No. Give time. Just set a time and say, right, the clocks are going to 1:45, or right, let me just finish the coffee, then we'll play. Set boundaries, set a time, show the task, go through it with them. If they find it difficult, ask them what they find it difficult. And if they're any chocolate to do, so right, okay, let's put it away, let's play something else, and then when you feel that they and they're ready to play that other game that they find difficult, then get it out and play. They'll soon find out if you'll soon realise. It's a good way to get to know your children, is what I'm saying. It's a good way for you to bond, because we all find things tricky. It doesn't mean they're not going to get it in the end, because of course they will. It's perseverance, so work with your children, and this is a good way of doing it. Games, or for them to be reluctant, is your way of it's them showing who they are and getting to know your kids, their likes and dislikes, and perhaps change the game. So what if for example, when we play football, it's the two of us, and I stand back a bit, and it's just, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because that makes you reluctant to do it, and they can feel it. If they feel that you're reluctant to do it, then so will they. But if you say, right, you set a time, set a day, then more likely they'll do different tasks. And like I say, once you see the results at the end, that's when you can go, right, that was brilliant, excellent work. Right, let's just keep doing this then. And they'll try something else. Just always keep going, is what I'm trying to say. So if they're reluctant at first, then just add it in, set a time, and then they will eventually go, right, okay, at this time, this is when we read, at that time, this is where I can play, and block schedule. I do that a lot. I do that on my Google Calendar. Set a time, book a day, and say, right, okay, tomorrow, like I did on Saturday, right, tomorrow, we're going to go see the fish, and we're going to go for a walk in the park. And it was fun. It was a little bit tough, because he wanted to go one way. He wanted to walk under a tree and play underneath the tree. But we, because we had the car there, we obviously had, not obviously, it's not obvious because you weren't there. It's exactly that. See? And now I'm doing it where I'm not sure whether I'm doing these videos right, because this whole world, like YouTube and blogging, was an alien world to me at first, but then it's been one of the best things I've ever done, and you learn from that, so do your kids. So if they are reluctant, don't feel bad about it, but just just say, so right, we're going to do this task because it has to be done. I want Henry to read, because it's going to help with his communication, building sentences, and he's got these worksheets, which I'll show you actually, that are really good. Let me go and get them, and I'll show you them. One sec. You can put this on hold. So, it's these worksheets. So there's quite a few. Now, luckily, my stepdad works at school, so and lives by the school. and he found these documents, and you could actually make them your own. I've done that before, make my own worksheets for Henry. And these little tasks like this, like this example, this one. So basically, you have to put in the word that's missing. So you got like, I was dirty and I needed a what shower. Sorry, I need to get a drink of water. Sorry. So, and he said, what if you speak to the school that your child's going to, ask them if they could, you know, do worksheets like these. I mean, they give them their own homework, but if you know a school that have like worksheets that could help you, just ask them, see if they could print off some for you, so they can learn these at home, you know. And they're pretty good, and I want to create my own again as well for him, if I can, because I lose my laptop, but I would like to do that, make him his own worksheets. I've done that before, and I enjoyed making them. And I made him charts as well. We had to learn about the different seasons, and really are great to do. So if you've got publishing, you know, or Microsoft, or any program you could do this on. I mean, I use my publisher, because that's what I've got on my laptop, so program I've got, so that's what I use. But if you get worksheets like these, then, you know, and they, again, Henry's a bit reluctant, but once he got a word right, and I would say, well done, that's brilliant, he then made me, oh, okay, well, do the next one. Keep praising them, keep challenging them, and just don't have to do these all in one go, just do one a day, or one sheet a week, you know. So if they're a bit reluctant, you know, have like a reward system, and I believe in that. As soon as Henry does well, he gets rewarded, and he can either have a bit of chocolate, he can go back and watch his tablet, or he can have an ice cream for his dinner. You know, something like just reward him. And you could. I was doing reward charts at first. When he was did that was about a couple of years ago. And I did a reward sheet board for him, and that was helpful. And it's something I would do again, because I was going to do a thing where he would pick out a reward, but I never got around to doing that in the end. But you know, there are so many different ways that you can do it. If they would like to do something, and say, right, just talk to them about it and chat and find out why. Introduce it and set a time and book a date. Keep a log or jot notes and set goals for you and your child. And just find if you've got worksheets like that, get them to do one each week. Same with reading, do a book a week or a month, or if they're into bigger books now, have them challenge them to see if they can read for 15 minutes a day, and again set a timer. And there's different things you can do. It's all about persevering, set a time, set a date, do the task, and talk to them about it. You know, you don't have to like, we're doing this game now, you know, and it's tough. If you can't understand it, play it. No, that's the wrong attitude. The way you want to do it is like, okay, let's play this game, and whether you find tricky, tell me, and we'll go over it. Show them how to play the game. You know, I showed him how to play Snakes and Ladders, because at first he didn't understand it, but then he did. And keep it simple. Don't make it. If you have to. It's all about effective communication, and practicing what you preach. You know, show them how to do it. Show, and then bit by bit, if there's one element that's been tricky, well, work around it. Well, with when we first started playing matching pairs, I always have the faces up because he had Mr. Men matching pairs set, and so he could start for his learning then, because he was struggling a bit with uh, the game, I would have the pictures face up, and then as soon as he got it, and then we played face down, and we did that with we played Dinosaur Duo, which is a good game. Look it up. He loves playing that because he's really into dinosaurs at the minute. And that's the other thing. If you can use something that they're interested in, like planes and helicopters, use that. And when it comes to maths, get them to count how many helicopters I can see. How many buses? I made him a bus book to talk about the buses. So play games around their interests and so make it interesting for them. And if you enjoy it and you understand it, then so will they. And I mean, his homework, even my mum couldn't understand why he had to do it first, but then I got the gist and I read through it. So, and just do what you can and believe in yourself and talk with your children. Just have a discussion, And that's what I do with Henry. A lot of the time is that I will talk to him. I hate having to tell him off, and so and I try not to get angry, but it is I mean, we're only human, and you will lose your patience. I mean, I was always getting told off as a kid, but I've learned, and you have to set boundaries for your kids, so when they're reluctant, remember they're setting boundaries as well for themselves, because they fear learning sometimes, because he wants to play on his super pop machine, but he has to learn. I mean, there are adults that still can't read, and there's no disrespect to them. It is a challenge to adults. That's why it's important to address that, because it does help with feeling comfortable. Even writing books, I found that I was making mistakes in my books that I'm writing, and it was so obvious, and yet so it's all about perseverance and just make it easy for yourself and easy for them, but then grow and then progress, make it more challenging each step that they take, and that's what I do now as an adult. So just persevere and don't feel that it's a reflection on your parenting, because it's not. Anyway, so sorry, this videos are quite long. I hope that's helped you, and I'll see you. Oh, and I do write a parenting blog, which is the Parenting Adventures Tips and Tricks.wordpress.com, and also the Parenting Adventures The Birth of My Son .wordpress.com, and I also write parenting my Google blog, but I will link all those below if you'd like to check them out. So, many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.